Alright. Hello, my wisdomers out there. How are we? Welcome to the Stephen Shields radio show on wisdom. Right now, I'm all the way in Sydney, Australia. Having my morning coffee. I just got up and I am live on Wisdom. I felt called to do my podcast today. You know, it is Wednesday, the 23rd of March, 2022 at the moment. And it is raining outside for some reason. Yeah, raining. Don't know why it's raining. I mean, we had a lot of floods going on and now it's raining again. Well, yesterday I was able to get my washing done, so I did that, which is good. Right now it's 19 degrees Celsius, precipitation 6%, humidity 94%, wind 8 kilometers an hour, top of 26 degrees Celsius, low of 17 degrees Celsius, rain predicted, slightly sunny with a bit of cloud, predicting 67 degrees Fahrenheit, precipitation 6%, humidity 94%, wind 5 miles per hour, rain predicted 78 degrees Celsius, a low of 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and a low of 63 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment for my US audience as well. But yeah, I felt called to host a room today on wisdom about the topic of, manifestation and, affirmations. I guess powering your subconscious mind for the future of success is important, especially during hard times. Hard times is what we, are going through at the moment, is hard times. But I suppose, however we can look at life, during this time. I mean, affirmations have definitely helped me a lot. Insight Timer especially has helped me a lot. So much to the point that I really felt, like my mind is just very inspired. I feel much better as well. In these troubling times as well. And, I suppose that affirmations are definitely worth powering your subconscious mind, whether it's in business. We go through downsides in business, especially economic at the moment with the pandemic. I've noticed yesterday I was walking in the shops and there was a retail store across from Woolworths, which is a corporation, Anyway, they're closing 2 days a week because of staff shortage. It's like, Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on? You know, I mean, these are hard times. I mean, try to support your small businesses as much as you can as well. I'd rather shop at a small business, a small takeaway shop, than give my money to McDonald's or KFC or Red Rooster, Burger King, whatever you call it. Because I just feel better. Like, the food's better at my small takeaway shop. And, you know, lots of small businesses are going on hard times. I want to know your thoughts on how you use affirmations in your personal life, your spiritual life as well. And if you are going through hard times, I can see we got a guest waiting as well. Let's see. Here we go. Hello.
What's going on, man? I haven't spoken with you in quite some time.
I know. How are you, Malcolm?
I'm doing pretty decent. I can't complain. We chose a pretty ideal time to host this kind of a discussion. We're not
Yeah.
going to bring in an audience. Dio, the creator of the platform, is having a very exclusive interview with someone, so I can actually say things without ramifications. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I'm having fun here. I haven't spoken with you, so I do want to briefly catch up before we delve into today's topic. How have you been? How have things been? How's life been?
Yeah, there's been floods in New South Wales, Australia. A lot of politics behind it because they can't decide if they want to send the Australian Defence Force to clean up the floods or volunteer. I'm a volunteer firefighter, or the SES, State Emergency Services.
Oh, nice.
There's been a politician from the Labor Party who's passed away of suspected bullying, and they play politics with it. The opposition leader, Anthony Albanese, for the Labor governments. That's what's been going on in Australian politics as well. As you know, I'm very passionate about it.
Yes.
For me, I've had a lot going on. Just trying to get good sleep. Doing a 21-day affirmation challenge with Bob Baker on Insight Timer, and just starting my day of affirmations.
That's good, man. That's good. Yeah, that good energy. See, these affirmations, I feel as though they're underutilized.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though when you put positive words into the context of your everyday verbiage, your language, and everything that you say, you manifest positive results, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How are you been? Because I know you're into finances. I know the stock market's gone down so much.
Oh, I'm not that worried about the stock market. Luckily, I'm holding more liquid than I am actual assets.
Mm-hmm.
Market's been very, very volatile lately because of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis, in addition to the existential inflation crisis that we're facing right now, on top of several other macroeconomic issues that the world is dealing with at this time. So the market's very mixed with emotion right now, and all of the I'm speaking on behalf of the American indices, not your indices, not like yours for your specific country, but for America, the indices have been pretty volatile, and by volatile I mean very, very unpredictable in terms of direction, and that's led a lot of investors to be very, as they say on the market, hawkish. And by hawkish meaning trying to, in a sense, hedge against that of any losses that they could accrue trading on the market. But there's still a lot of trader traffic and stuff like that, and we're on the brink of undergoing a potential recession in the event if and this is if if we don't try to tackle one of the biggest issues that we're facing right now, which in this case is these gas prices. The problem with gas
Yeah.
prices is, and I'm sure it's starting to impact you guys as well.
Yeah.
You know, Russia being the number 2 oil supplier globally, considering that we only took at least at the time between 8 and 10% of Russia's oil. Because we started to sanction them on that, it started to impact us domestically. But when you have scarcity of resources, it drives up demand. So when you have scarcity and you have driven demand, you have higher prices. So that's what's called demand pull inflation. And because the Federal Reserve is implementing what they say in the market called interest rate hikes, people are going to start feeling the long-term effects of these interest rate hikes. So the average everyday utilities, items, assets, car notes, credit cards, any form of unsecured debt that you take out, meaning like loans, that's going to be coming at a pretty higher interest rate. So you're going to start noticing a higher interest rate for the things that you would borrow from third-party institutions, which right now a lot of people are, because when the pandemic hit, one of the biggest things that people took out was debt because they tried to hedge against, the bills that they were missing and things that they couldn't pay for. So now you have people trying to reacclimate after the pandemic, trying to get themselves out of debt and or try to find a form of sustainable income because they were furloughed as a result of the pandemic. So many, there's so many systemic issues that we're dealing with right now. It's quite a lot. I could literally go on for days about what's going on,
Well,
but
see,
yeah.
in Russia, I think McDonald's is closed. You can't use American Express credit cards in Russia. Russian influencers are getting shut down from TikTok and social media now, although they're not supporting the war. But I don't understand that.
Yeah, so the thing with that is a lot of foreign banks. A lot of banks, they operate not only domestically, but they operate globally. So
Mm,
you have banks like Bank of America, J.P. Morgan
mhm,
Chase, Wells Fargo, which is a universal bank. You have a lot of these banks that bank with a foreign entities or foreign adversaries, in lack of a better
mm,
term, and they had to cut off a lot of foreign clients that
mm,
resided in these countries, in Russia specifically, which cut off a lot of liquidity and circulation of finance for the operations within the confines of the Russian entities. So now, when you have these central banks that are cutting off the resource or access to these financial resources and these tools, it's creating a little bit of friction. So the idea here is that they basically isolate Russia from all these other from access of these domestic goods, resources, financial resources. These countries are basically saying, "Hey, if you're going to go on a full-on war with Ukraine, well, we're not going to give you access to the resources that you're normally accustomed to." And the only people that are abiding by this, or I'm sorry, that are not abiding by this, of course, is China and a few other foreign entities as well that I will not name on behalf of the fact that I normally don't discuss politics that much in depth.
mhm. Yeah, it definitely is something to do with China, but Vladimir Putin's sending conscriptions now.
I'm sorry,
Conscripts
what's that?
are like soldiers who are not paid. They get called by the government, like Vietnam.
Oh, so being drafted in a sense.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a World War III or if this is the start of World War III.
Well, the only thing that we can speculate on is that the global tensions are definitely rising, and other countries are starting to feel the collateral damage done from Russia's actions.
Mm,
I personally don't think this would go out into a full-fledged World War III, simply because a lot of these countries, when they meet at the UN or they meet at NATO, they really
mm,
don't want to get involved. They really don't want to get involved because it would hurt their economies very harshly. So that's like saying, and it's kind of like think of it like this. Um, think of it like you're at, say you're at at lunch, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there is a big bully picking on that one person there, and it's a group of you and a few others there that are only bystanders to what's happening. So instead of approaching the bully directly, you just take the person that's being bullied away from the circumstances, and you try to provide them resources
Mm.
to help them, or you give them advice. You walk up to that buddy and say, hey man, that bully is really bad, and I'm sorry that you're dealing with this, but here's a few tips so you can be better at fighting him. So these countries are indirectly aiding Ukraine, but they're not trying to get involved so that it doesn't drag them down geopolitically and
Mm.
domestically as well. Otherwise, that at that point, if we become more involved, would essentially result in more conflict. And the last thing any of these countries want is conflict, because it's like they pick and choose their fights, and they don't want to choose this fight, not because they would lose, but because of the ramifications of getting involved, which would be more systemically dragged down, or would be systematically crippling. So at the expense of not crippling their own economies, they don't want to get involved with that big bully that's bullying that one kid at lunch, if that makes sense. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Yeah, it's a shame that this war is going on, because it would be a dream for me to go and travel to Russia. Russia's got some nice places to go, and Ukraine, but now it's quite sad that this is happening. I don't know how long this is going to go for. Who knows?
Yeah. Not even members of Congress even know how long this is going to last. So your guess is just as good as theirs.
Mm. But it's a shame, because Vladimir Putin, he's losing.
Yeah, but he's definitely a sore loser, and he
You
refuses
know,
to admit that.
already, like, you got Russian tanks are breaking down. They're not getting food supply. I don't know why he would decide to invade, and then should have thought twice. That's weird.
It is very interesting, but in the instance of avoiding any further political discussion on this particular topic because of my field of
Mm.
work, I will say we'll honestly have to play this one by ear and see exactly how it goes. I mean, we can only hope for the best. I mean, my heart
Mm.
goes out to the refugee crisis that's formulating on the Ukraine, in Ukraine, of course, and other countries, because they're flooding into other countries. But
Mm.
we'll definitely hope for the best possible outcome and the least possible casualties. But optimism can only stretch so far. It can only stretch so far. But I keep my hopes up
Mm-hmm.
for a formidable outcome.
Now, as I was saying about hard times that we're on, like, I'm noticing too, like, I go to the shops, Malcolm, and toilet paper's on such a huge demand for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, that's because it's an essential household item, and an essential household item is of scarcity, especially when you're experiencing supply constraints. And because, like, when the pandemic first hit, a lot of people went to, I don't know if they did this in your country, but in America,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
when the pandemic first hit, a lot of people rushed to the stores and grabbed a whole bunch of essentials like paper towels, tissue, Perel or hand sanitizer, uh, several other smaller household essential items at the expense of it becoming of scarcity. But now, what our American economy is doing is, because of the scarcity of resources. Well, I wouldn't say the scarcity, but because of the fact that you have inflation raging like it will be pretty soon.
Mm.
You're going to have these commodities, these assets, these household GDP, domestic growth product. I'm sorry, gross domestic product. You're going to have them raise in value because of increased demand, in addition to a lack of production. But that's only one of few things there. That's why people are trying to grab it now, so that way they have a competitive edge, as opposed to being late to the party and not being able to get it when a store runs out on it.
Why is accommodation and getting a house so hard to get in Australia? It's getting to the point where the rent prices is so expensive. I'm quite annoyed by that, because why should accommodation be so hard to get and expensive? Just have
When
a
I
roof over your head.
when I hear the word accommodation, that to me sounds like
A rental house.
yeah, bargaining for less, as opposed to negotiating for more. That's what accommodation sounds like to me. Something that's given to you, as opposed to something that you negotiate for. Why do you? So the cost of living has increased. It not just it has in America, and it will continue to. Considering that we have these rising prices and commodities and other assets as well that we rely on as far as production goes. And when you have inflation as well, you have basically the Federal Reserve saying, hey, in order to reduce volatility in the economy and produce more liquidity for sustainability, we need to rise interest rates. So what it means by rising interest rates is allowing these banks to borrow, allowing these lenders essentially to charge more on interest for the things that you pay for. And that's how banks make their money. So banks want to make more money, essentially, is why you're starting to notice a slight increase in the cost of living.
It's going to get to the point, in my opinion, that rent is going to get so expensive, even a full-time worker just can't afford a place anymore. People are moving out in Australia. There's like empty apartments. Serious. People can't afford it.
Yeah, and that's where it's going to hit the real estate sector really hard. And I'm just once again equating this to the U.S. because when you have so many variables to consider because of why people are moving out, it's understandable. Real estate right now, as stable as it is not going to remain as stable for a long period of time. Well, I won't say stable, but it's how do I word this? It's sustainable right now, and it will always remain sustainable, but it won't be as profitable as it is right now, considering the macroeconomic issues at hand.
Mm.
And you're
So
starting to see that in your own country as well. So that definitely shows.
it was never like this 4 years ago. Rent was more at a reasonable price. I don't know why it's gotten to the point where you can't afford to eat food after rent. That's not fair. I mean, I have a right to a roof over my head, so do you, and that's what bothers me.
Well, the thing is that the economy will have to adjust. These lenders will have to adjust their rates so that it's affordable for people. But the thing is that because these countries have waited so long to try to tackle these issues, because one of the biggest slowdowns in macroeconomic history was the pandemic. I mean, one can equate it to several other historical elements, but I'm not going to talk history here. Long story short, it's just your economy will have to adjust in accordance to consumer expenditure and, of course, to these interest rates as well that will rise. And eventually, your country will experience wage pressures. Inflationary wage pressures in this case means that when you don't have enough workers because you're not paying them enough, people won't work for you. So these businesses will eventually miss out on labor, and they will also miss out on production. And if they don't have enough workers, they will have to decrease the amount of production because there's not enough people. And eventually, they will have to just probably close out. If they can't produce enough, they can't make sustainable revenue. And if you don't have sustainable revenue, then of course you have a crippling business. So these businesses, not only will they have to adjust, but the economy will have to adjust as well, and it will take time. It will take a lot. It will take a lot of time.
Do you think in your financial opinion, we're going to have a Great Depression?
That's a heavy question. It's a very heavy question. So here is my take on everything that's going on. we will have, I personally believe as though we will have a recessionary period where there is stagnance. Stagnance meaning stagnant growth in the economy. And by stagnant growth, unless Congress or the Federal Reserve and the central banking system decides to provide more liquidity into the economy to sustain these rising inflationary pressures, because it's all connected. If you really want to be honest, through the banking system and the way in which it operates to provide liquidity and revenue through bonds for these businesses, these corporate businesses, these institutions, these unsecured debts for these lenders, i.e., banks. You're going to have a period of stagnance as people begin to scale back on their monthly and perhaps annual expenditure. You're going to have consumers that will eventually reduce their monthly expenses so much to the point at which they're having to make financial sacrifices at the betterment of their own personal growth. And that's kind of the expectation, right? So when you have an economy that's going out of control, a way to control it is to make it so that people doesn't have a lot of, so basically reducing liquidity into the economy, it basically creates what's called deflation. So deflation is essentially when you have a period in which the banks are not making as much because consumers are they're very frugal with their finances. So the idea behind macroeconomics in order to create sustainability in an economy is to reduce the liquidity provided in an economy from the Federal Reserve or these central banks and these entities. So I feel as though, given the current pressures that our current economics are currently facing, as far as domestic is concerned, I'm not sure. I guess one could correlate it to your country as well. Is that there will be a period of adjustment, and we may not notice it right now because we are in a period in which we are getting back to where we're going and getting things done because we have more liberty to do so because the CDC mandates have finally loosened up for businesses. Well, not for China, but for other businesses and, of course, for certain countries as well. So now that you have people back here on the prowl, they're trying to find alternate forms of income because their job now, given the current inflationary pressures, is not sustainable revenue. It's not sustainable revenue. So now people are searching for sustainable revenue and taking out on their own intuition, of course, to by any means necessary to create sustainable revenue. And you have people that are getting involved in crypto. This kind of see with this particular topic, I could literally. There's so many things to talk about, but in a lump sum, to answer your question, I believe that there will be stagnant growth in our economy based off of the structure of our monetary system.
Yeah, and like I said,
that is, unless the stock market crashes.
Oh, it's possible. Look, I'm an investor, but I only invest $5 into Bitcoin. But what I can see is the stock market's going to crash.
The stock market right now has been in a gradual descent, and all three of the major United States indexes have been on a constant bearish trend, or let me speak it bearish. It's been on a downtrend. I'd like to spare you the technicals because I know that I could lose some people in the audience here. But what that means is that the market is not adjusting well to the inflationary pressures, simply because with the unpredictability of the Russia-Ukraine crisis, in addition to the inflationary pressures, in addition to the fact that consumers it's becoming increasingly difficult for consumers to find a source of sustainable income or a job that will provide them security. You have what's called structural unemployment in the U.S. And structural unemployment is basically when people are in between jobs, or they perhaps possess certain traits that they could transfer to another job, but because the economy right now is not as sustainable, given the nature of our macroeconomics and, of course, the existential issues, it's creating a lot of uncertainty. So now people are scattered and or they're concerned about the longevity of their job security and perhaps also financial security, given the nature of our of what's happening right now. So now we're kind of hanging on a threshold. Well, the market's kind of hanging on a threshold as to what happens as a result of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And that uncertainty within of itself is making a lot of people reluctant to hold, to hold any form of asset unless it's commodities. Because right now commodities are doing great in the market. Commodities like oil, energy, industrials, gold, silver, um, crypto assets, stuff like that is doing well. But what we need is for these smaller cap companies to perform well as well. I'm deviating from the topic. What I mean to say is we need sustainability. We need structure. We need that flow of liquidity. But right now, the Federal Reserve is trying to implement they're not trying. They already did last week. Implemented one of many of their first their interest rate hikes, which they implemented on Wednesday of last week in the U.S. by a 0.25 basis point. And I know I'm probably speaking foreign to some people, but what that means is that the Fed is basically reducing the amount of liquidity into the economy at the expense of trying to slow growth, but in a healthy manner. But it's not healthy. This would be better. It would be a better time to implement interest rate hikes if we didn't just go through a pandemic, right? But it's just not helping. It truly isn't helping. And I know for sure that because the market is right now is in an unhealthy position, it could become worse if this Russia-Ukraine crisis continues to brew. But I can't primarily blame it on the Russia-Ukraine crisis because that's only one of many catalysts as to why the market is unstable right now. That's just what's in the mainstream news. There's many underlying variables as to why the market still will continue to underperform. So undoubtedly, there definitely is going to be a period of stagnant growth in the economy, in the American economy, and I only assume for other foreign economies as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the pandemic's put a lot of fear into people as well, especially the war in Ukraine. Obviously, it's funded by taxpayers, so yeah, not good at all. Well, I wanted to ask, like countries like Dubai, they're so rich. Like, have you been to Dubai?
I have never been to Dubai.
Man, Malcolm, they live like a millionaire lifestyle there.
I bet I can only assume from what's portrayed on social media.
Yeah. No, but it's a weird world we're living in.
We're in a state of adjustment. Okay, so we're in a state of not only financial adjustment, but we're in a state of mental adjustment as well, because we need clarity more than ever, and there's not enough clarity out there. There's a lot of uncertainty and misinformation out there, so people are unsure of what is to happen next. With the way we've been conditioned based off of everything that's been happening, it's now a lot of people are in that mentality of, well, what could happen next and what's going to happen next. You're still experiencing these mass shooting. Well, I wouldn't say mass shootings, but you're still experiencing. Well, by you're, I'm speaking second person, but we are still experiencing many issues right now that is crippling our economy's growth. But it doesn't seem to me as though that is at the top of our president's agenda right now.
Mm. Well, how do you feel about President Joe Biden handling this situation?
Once again, because of my field of work, I am very limited to answering that question. But I will say, we we can we can always improve.
Mm, mm. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, it's hard times we're living in.
Yeah, Undoubtedly, all we can do for sure is to gather ourselves and to ask questions if we're curious, and to also, if you're not if you're spending your money on something that you don't need to, don't spend your money on it. Save your money so you can save
Exactly.
yourself in the future.
Yeah. But like I said, Malcolm, support as many small businesses as you can, like takeaway shops, not corporations during this time.
Yeah, undoubtedly. That's what we want. Is we want these smaller businesses to be the successor and not the predecessor, right? Because these smaller businesses have sustainability. Well, they don't have sustainability right now because they're smaller businesses, but they have growth potential simply because these bigger industries are becoming scarce of the resources needed for the appropriate production. So as a result of that, these smaller businesses come in because they're localized businesses. They get their own products locally. They grow their own resources, right? So if they're funding their own business, thus that as a response, it creates this, in its short term, but it's still sustainability. And I personally believe as though there's untapped potential for smaller businesses, especially on the stock market. As a lot of financial analysts forecast, there's sustainability for small businesses and small cap stocks as well in the market. So I definitely agree. My buddy Louise on the MOT Media channel, he talks about localizing your food chain or your supply chain, which is completely true. You really should.
Exactly. All right, Malcolm, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks very much for having me. I look forward to our next discussion. You take.
Bye. All right, that was a great, great talk with Malcolm. But yeah, like we are, in very challenging times at the moment. That's why I use my affirmations to, power my subconscious mind for success as well, during these times. Because I've noticed there's a lot of fear and anxiety out there in the media at the moment. But I want to know if there's anyone else listening who feels inspired to be on the Stephen Shields radio show. You're most welcome to come on stage. Just tap the profile icon and get on stage if you want. If not, this was a fantastic episode today on wisdom. This is a fantastic app. I'm always looking forward to more updates going on. I can see we've got a guest. Let's see. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Pay attention to Malcolm because he is a wise, wise man. I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can
yes, he
hear that
is.
you are outside in.
I am. Oh, sorry, yes, I'm walking the dogs. Hold on, can you wait 1 second? I'll step off my Bluetooth. 1 second.
Yeah, but it's a challenging world that we are living in right now
It
at the
is.
moment.
Yes. Well, back to your topic, and again, I do listen to Malcolm because I've asked him about all kind of things, and he educates my old brain.
Mm.
So back to your topic, how are you managing your life? Tell me, please.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit.
Okay.
I couldn't hear that.
How are you managing your life with passion? I guess would be my question.
I just get up every day and do my meditation practice and, do stuff that I love doing,
Me
like going
too.
hiking and
Yeah.
exercise as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is a lot of, negativity out there. Um, and I guess just trying to pursue my dream as much as I can, Wendy,
Nice. Right now,
you know.
I'm off dogs. But yeah.
Mm. Yeah, Wendy, it's you're breaking up. It's a bit hard to
Okay.
hear you.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna let you go. I just wanted to
You,
say hello and see how you are manifesting your life of passion. I'm walking dogs, so that's how I'm doing mine. So, so
Good
yeah.
on you. All right.
All right, take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Wendy. Bye. All right. So yeah, that's this is life that we are living in right now. Now, I'm going to close the room off. If there's anyone else who wants to jump on, just come on stage. If not, guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the Stephen Shields radio show and turn on your notifications so you never miss an episode every Friday at 6 p.m. Sydney, Australia time. Also, to share any of your favorite episodes on your social media as well. And, you can support me on Patreon and my TeePublic store if you'd like to purchase merchandise as well. Also, give the podcast a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and Spotify as well. And if you'd like to follow me on Webtalk, you can do that. If you'd like to monetize your social media following, Webtalk is very helpful. I've got the links in the description as well. I'm Stephen Shields. Bye for now.